I wanted to live this life because I knew it was a standard we were supposed to live. And I didn't see that. And in different churches that we went to, like small ones where we were familiar with the leadership, we would say, this is how, shouldn't we be living like this? Shouldn't the message be geared toward how we're supposed to be following this path? And so I see that from the time I was a kid, well, I want to say when I was 11, and this is kind of personal, I don't have a problem with this, but when I was 11, I got burned. And the strange thing about it was, I believe it was of the devil because how it occurred. And I was taught not to mess with matches, but I did anyway. And so when I lit the pajamas I had on, I put it out and it went out. And then I did it again, but the fire didn't go out, and it wouldn't go out. I didn't think to pat it or whatever, but it did not grow because I said, I'm going to go in the kitchen, I'm going to go in the sink, and I'm going to put it to the sink, and I'm going to pour water on it. But do you know the fire did not grow when air was added to it? It's supposed to grow, right? It did not grow. The enemy was trying to eliminate me out of this life. And I've had difficulty after difficulty because I've had to make a stand about different things, you know, scars and whatnot and everything. But I have to stay on this path. I must stay on this path. There's no other life. There's no other life.
You're listening to Fruit Bearers, a living Hebrew production provided by KingdomPreppers.org. I'm your host, Kingdom Prepper. This podcast will focus on the spiritual walk of those of you out there who are living the Israelite lifestyle, whether you were born Hebrew or Gentile. But more than that, it will detail how the faithful have been, or are striving to be, fruit bearers as they walk the path of righteousness toward the kingdom. Return to our third guest.
My name is Karen. I grew up in Christianity from a kid. We were birthed into it. My mom was more of the, I would say, spiritual kind of figure because on her side of the family, my mom, it's like 15 of them. And so, and then my grandfather, it was like 12 of them. So we all made a church when we went to this little town to visit. So, you know, from an early age, we learned about the Bible, so to speak. And so, you know, we hit and miss. We weren't the faithful churchgoers. We hit and miss from time to time. But I have an older brother, and he was more of a militant type of person. He read everything, and you had to prove everything to him. So I kind of looked up to him, and when he started reading the scriptures, I said, well, I'm going to follow him, and started reading. And so I read. So we had a lot of preachers and preachers' wives in my family. And so when we would have family get-togethers, I would sit back and look from what I read, especially about Matthew 5, the Beatitudes, where, you know, it would tell how we're supposed to live. I said, I don't see that kind of lifestyle being lived by these who say they're preachers and who are supposed to be leading us in this way. So I said, I think I was about 12 or 13 at the time, and I said, I prayed a prayer, and if I can live this way, you know, I don't say Yah. At that time I didn't say Yah, but Yah, if I can live this way, please get me to a place where I can. And I was 13, and that's been some 43 some odd years, 7 years ago. And so I thought it was kind of interesting, but my whole life has been pretty much Christianity. But I always had a heart for Yah. I prayed all the time. I was always concerned about my life and living the way that I saw Yeshua live. And so, but I didn't really see Christianity living that, but I always wanted to. And even when I was younger and when I sinned, I would be just crushed. I was just had a heart for that, but I knew that I was not living this way. So I went to college and I got married and divorced and married again and had children. I raised them pretty much Christian per se, but I wanted them to have when I raised them in the sense that they had a knowledge of the Most High. So I had a couple of children who, they went in full stream into Christianity per se. And I had a couple of children who kind of rebelled, but then I had one who she was a baby and she had some physical issues from birth that, it was her little thing. So we kept, just kept on, but as time went on, I just became disillusioned. I went to all different kind of Christian, now that I know it's all the same, but Christian churches. I tried Lutheran, I tried Baptist, I tried Methodist, tried Word of Faith, tried all these different things, but I always had this longing, something was missing in my life. So I guess about 2012, once all our children left home, we sold the house, family home, built another house, and thinking all this was going to really do it. Well, it didn't. Because once we got in, all settled in and everything, there's still dissatisfaction, this uneasiness, this sadness, depression, so to speak, was still looming large in my heart. Well, my husband, and so I had said, I'm not dealing with, or at that point in time I was doing Word of Faith because it was just all this name it, claim it, this and that, and you still were left empty. So he said, and so my husband he's self-employed, so things were going fine in 2012. So he started watching something on TV about this one particular ministry, and it was a grace thing. And so when I first started listening to it, I thought, oh, yeah, this is the answer, blah, blah, blah. Well, over time, I feel that growing dissatisfaction because you see the same thing. So-called people who are Christians, it was this big divide between black and white. And it was such the disparity between black and white and the hatred and the mistreatment of blacks, I just couldn't understand. And then to the political climate at the time, I just couldn't understand. And then why was this so-called Christian organization who said they love, 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 but they still spewed all this hatred that this particular political machine said this is okay. I couldn't understand that. And so people who were of that persuasion, that political affiliations, I would ask who I thought were friendly toward me, I'll put it that way, and would ask, why do you all hate me? And I'll just say me, but meaning us, just for the color of my skin. And I would think it was for the color of my skin, and that was my cry. I would cry to Yah, I said, Yah, I don't understand. My heart was really heavy about that. I really didn't. I'm going to fast forward to like 2016 because that's when I actually came into the truth. But it wasn't through scriptures or books and things like that trying to figure out who I was, because that never really occurred to me that would be the reason. It just never did. But my husband, we started having some slowdown in the business, and so he had more time on his hands. So he started looking at YouTube things, and so he started coming across things about us being Hebrews. But he didn't tell me that. He was just going through these different things, and he was having some challenges, and he was down and whatnot, and he didn't ever want to talk to me about it because he didn't want me to worry. And so I was in my little world, and he was in his little world. And so I want to say in 2016, because that's the last year we celebrated and participated in any of the pagan holidays, and that was around that time, the November, the December. Those are the last times we did. And so he decided to tell me. He said, "Well, you know that we're the people." I'm like, "The people? What are you talking about?" "We're the people." I mean, what are you talking about? So I think he showed me a video, and the other thing he was talking about the Illuminati and all these different things. And so it was a stress for me. It was a real stressor for me because I didn't know how to deal with all of that, especially looking at the video. So I believed once I saw it and I heard it, I believed it. I'm like, wow, okay, I understand it, but it was an overwhelming, it was this heavy burden then because I'm the people. But when I looking back at Scripture and I looked at how we turned our back on the Most High and we did not serve Him, and it was our sin that it was just more than I could bear, because how do I do that now? I don't even know where to start. I just don't know where to start, and that overwhelmed me. And then some of the things that I was hearing, looking like you're going to the pit, and you're going here, and it's just this heavy hand, and it made me, start. I got to do, and I ended up becoming ill. But I still knew that it was the truth, and I became ill, and I was real fearful, full of anxiety, because I didn't know. So that began my quest into, I know that I have to live this life, but I know that I can't live this life fearful either. So it was trying to find a balance in it all.
To listen to the full audio of this podcast or to download a free MP3 version, visit our website, kingdompreppers.org, by clicking the link in the description. And if you're striving to bear fruit for Yah and would like to be featured in a future podcast episode, write us through the site using the contact form at the bottom of the Live in Hebrew section and request a Fruit Bearers interview.